Hello everyone, welcome back to Spot On Chess. Today we're going to look at board 2, game number 2 of the 3-game blindfold chess simul that I did at the Gold Beach Chess Club. I hope you enjoy the game, and if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave those down below. Alright, let's get to it. Board 2 featured me playing the white pieces, and Donnie was commanding the black pieces. A fun game, one everyone can learn from, and everyone at the club had a good time watching it. And so we will be doing more of these events as well in the future.
All right, well, we're going to look at game 2 from the blindfold simul I did. And this game was against Donnie. I had the white pieces, e4, best by test, Bobby Fischer, d6. He plays a great move. He's not just playing e5 and making it easy. He's actually allowed me to exchange off queens here, so I could play pawn takes, pawn takes, queen, check, king takes, and then he won't be able to castle, but I want to leave the queens on the board and intensify the pressure on e5. And then he played this move. Now, I was blindfolded, so I was like, okay, what is going on here? I'm just winning a pawn. I'm trying to develop my pieces, because remember in the opening you have 4 objectives. Control the center, get your team off the bench and out onto the field of play. That's number 2. Number 3, king safety. Usually that means castling, not too early, not too late. And sometimes you stay in the center of the board and ride out the storm. There really is no safe seat at the feast in chess. And the 4th thing is just try and create threats. You got to do something to keep the opponent from focusing on attacking you. You've got to make them aware that they've got weaknesses too, and you've got to try and push your opening agenda at the expense of theirs. It's a check. When you're in check, you can either block, if it's an option, remove the piece by capturing it, or run away. Here, blocking was played. Now this block does let me mess up the pawns. I take advantage of the pin so that he cannot just recapture with the knight, and after he captures with the king, I smash up the pawns. And now I'm guaranteed to either get this pawn on f7 or this pawn on c6. He ignores the threat and plays a move c4, which allows me to fork his king and his rook from f7. So now I get to pick up the rookie cookie in the corner. And that's a freebie. He steps over to attack the knight. The knight grabs the rook, and then bishop b4 check. During the simul, Donnie had told me that he felt he was going to be the first person eliminated of the 3 players. He plays for fun. He's a casual player. But believe it or not, it was pretty difficult to keep tabs on his game because there were these pawn moves. You might have a material advantage, but when you're playing without sight of the board, it's another thing entirely. And these positions are a little unusual, to say the least. So here I just block the check with the pawn, gain a tempo on the bishop, which is attacked. He moves the bishop back to a good square. Knight d2. This was kind of a mistake. I should have played bishop e3 first. Although maybe not, because then he has rook b8, so maybe this is correct. Knight d2. g6, he's looking to get in here and get rid of that knight. Knight takes c4, preventing the bishop from going there. The bishop can't stay there or it'll be captured. Bishop to c7, drops back. He's hoping to corral the knight later on. Bishop to e3, finally getting that piece out there. The knight here does defend backwards the pawn on b2, and it does survey these important squares deep into enemy territory. This creates an attack against my knight on c4, and of course you don't want to just lose a piece, so knight drops back. a5, really here he should try and grab that knight if he can. However, the problem with that is then I would put my bishop here and make sure that he would be unable to do that. So he plays a5, a3, a4. So he's giving his bishop a solid option on b3 here potentially. And so I castle to that side of the board so that my king can defend b2. It's a little bit risky. Knight e7. Rook h to e1. Sure, why not? Let's line up against his king, even with all this traffic that's in the way. There's a lot of traffic here, but things could clear up and maybe you end up winning a pinned piece. Bishop takes h2. This is kind of the trap that Fischer fell for in the World Championship match. He grabbed a pawn that was a bit taboo. Although it turns out with serious study of that game, of course, because it's a World Championship caliber game, it turns out that Fischer actually may have had a draw in that position. Here, such is not the case. The bishop is trapped after g3. The pawn on f2 protects. So Donny tries to run his pawn down to get it to h4 so he can break open the position and get his bishop out of there. But the rook's in time to slide over and attack the bishop. And I grab the bishop. He takes the pawn. I didn't overlook that, even if I couldn't see it physically. And so now I'm a rook and a knight up. Wow, that doesn't mean anything if you make mistakes when you're blindfolded. So e5, just trying to control squares deep in the enemy territory. Knight f5, hitting the pawn and the bishop, so the bishop comes up to f4 to protect the g3 backwards. E5, knight to e7, dropping back. Knight to e4, discovered check. Probably blocking with the knight would not be a good idea, because then this pawn could go to c4 and you lose a piece. Same situation with the bishop. King to c7, knight to g5. Let's attack that bishop there. We want to give this knight a way out of here as well. Bishop to b3. Now, because of the situation here being a whole rook up, I don't mind him capturing that rook because it leaves him with one less piece. So I get the knight out of there. He plays c5, which does give me access to d6. I go rook to d7 to hit his knight. The knight retreats. Rook c7 check. King b5. Knight to d6 check. King to b6 to threaten my rook. And I really want that bishop out of there. This may not have been the best move here, but we get rid of his bishop. Back here when I played the knight check, he could have taken my knight with his knight, but then I would just take back with the bishop. Here I don't want to lose a piece, so I defend. Now he comes over. I hit his knight. Now he could win one of the pieces back right here. And right here, had he played rook takes, king takes, knight takes, bishop takes, king takes, I would just have a dead one game because I'd be up this knight. I'd have this outside passed pawn down the A file. I have this passed pawn. There's no way that he can stop that. So I don't mind giving back some material. Every exchange down just makes the win easier for me because I'm up so much material. In fact, you don't want to be up too much material. You could accidentally stalemate a guy if you're not paying attention. You get overconfident. He comes back over here, and I'm like, okay, let's just get some of this material off the board. And now I've pushed to e7. He can't get behind the pawn. He tries to get over with his king. I promote to queen check. He goes king c7. And now queen c8 check. King b6. Queen b7 check. And king a5. And by this point in the simul, I mean, Donny was last man standing. I had beaten Leo and I had beaten Mitchell already. And I was pretty tired. It's been a long time since I had played blindfold. And I was having trouble visualizing, for sure. Now there's an obvious mate here, queen b5. And that's what actually Donny and Mark and some of the other people watching the game thought was going to be played. But instead, I eventually realized I could go queen a7, checkmate, and that ended the game.